Welcome back to the Bitcoin Edge. In this episode, we explore who needs Bitcoin and why. There are different reasons why people buy Bitcoin, and we hear from Anthony Pomliano, founder of Pomp Investments and well-known crypto advocate, as he talks with Andrew Sorkin about Bitcoin. They discuss buying Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation and as a store of value. Sorkin mentions that he recently spent time in Southern Africa, and no one he spoke to there owned Bitcoin. I know for a fact there are many Bitcoiners, but obviously Bitcoin is not the norm. Nigeria in Northern Africa has the fourth highest number of Bitcoiners after India, China, and the US. Nigerians have had their currency devalued several times and obviously see the need for a decentralized alternative. Many countries in Africa have faced a similar fate with their fiat currencies being devalued at record pace. It's happening in the US too, just at a slower pace. Why don't more people buy Bitcoin since it has been proven to be a hedge against inflation? Or debasement, as some people say? In Africa, most people are living paycheck to paycheck, and saving money or Bitcoin is the last thing on their minds. Pomp talks about Americans buying meme coins as gamble because the cost of living is out of control. These are the people who need Bitcoin the most. However, we all need Bitcoin. In the second interview, Ian Rodgers from Ledger generally discusses why, before April 2024 halving, might be a good time to invest in Bitcoin. Rodgers hits the nail on the head when he says, if you own pesos, you want dollars, and if you own dollars, you want Bitcoin. Owning some Bitcoin, wherever you are, could be the best investment you make. Let's listen to these two great interviews and learn more about Bitcoin. Let me know why you think more people don't own Bitcoin, and like and subscribe for more content.
Bitcoin is the most exciting asset in financial markets because of what you just described. It's this highly complex thing that everyone's trying to figure out. And I think for some people, it is a risk-on asset. And for other people, it is a hedge against inflation or a store of value. And so if we just look at
Can it be both?
Of course, it can be different things to different people. Right now, I think one of the most interesting parts about this is if you go and you talk to someone on Wall Street, why are they buying it? They're buying it because they want the price exposure via the ETFs. But if you go and you talk to someone maybe in a country where they actually are worried about somebody seizing their assets, they're buying Bitcoin because they literally want to make sure that they can hold on to the economic value. And so you have an asset that this is not unique just to Bitcoin in the sense of some assets serve different purposes for different people. I think Bitcoin, because of its global nature, because of the decentralization, and because it was adopted by individuals before the institutions, we're just seeing it kind of exaggerated as we watch the asset become adopted. Now, we just hit a really important milestone before the halving. We just had the highest weekly, monthly, and quarterly close for Bitcoin.
Right.
And so the last 4 times that that's happened, Bitcoin has appreciated at least 300% through the rest of the bull market. Right. Doesn't mean it's going to happen again, but to have that happen before the halving, it's kind of like the demand shock happened. Now we're going to have the supply shock. Right. And so it's hard just to see how the price doesn't continue to go up.
I want to ask you this question, and it goes to the risk on versus the inflation hedge. So I just got back from South Africa. Mm-hmm. And I literally asked anybody who was around when I was in Zimbabwe, in Zambia. By the way, the rand has done terribly. Of course. Right? It had been inflated away. Horrific situation. And I would ask anybody who was around, very wealthy people, folks who are middle class, folks who are at the bottom of this, and I said, do you own any Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Almost to a T, they said no. That actually was not a thing. And this was, and by the way, this was, I mean, it wasn't a scientific study, but a lot of people I asked about Bitcoin because I thought that the conversation we have around this table is that somehow the unbanked and everybody who's in these countries that is struggling with inflation is buying Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And they're, at least from what I saw, they're not. And then I went to look at the flows, and it also is true that they're not.
Yeah.
The math does not suggest that the hedge argument on inflation is actually a real one. And I just wonder whether it's sort of used to sort of sprinkle fairy dust to other people who then are speculating. I think there's a lot of people out there that are speculating and want it obviously to go higher, and it's a risk-on asset. That's my take on it at the moment.
Yeah, so I think it depends on what country you go look at, and I'll give you kind of 2 examples, one that supports yours and one that will contradict it. If you go to somewhere like Nigeria, it's definitely true that people are buying Bitcoin, and I don't know why it's happening in Nigeria, not in South Africa, but we see that. Then if you go somewhere like Argentina, there are some people buying Bitcoin, but there's a lot of people who want dollar-backed stable coins. and they actually want the dollar, not Bitcoin. And so I think country by country, you're going to see different adoption of these technologies. Now, what I will say, though, is you don't have to go to emerging markets to find a reason why people want to buy this, right? If you look at the United States dollar, it's lost 25% of its purchasing power since 2020. Bitcoin is up 800% during that same time period. And so if we go back to 2020, if you remember, Paul Tudor Jones, Stanley Druckenmiller, many of these people came out and said, look, I think it's an inflation hedge. Now, hedges are always this weird thing where people expect you buy it and then inflation explodes the next day. But instead, what we've seen is that Bitcoin is a free market asset that trades forward looking. And so Bitcoin's rise, it's up. We have 7 straight months of Bitcoin in the green up till this past month. And so why is it going up?
And
some of it is the ETFs. Well, inflation is coming down year over year, but it's actually, but inflation is actually going up month over month. Right? We've become a society of gamblers. If you think about, we have 0-day options. Now we're more than 50% of options trading. We have sports betting, right? We have meme coins trading like 1980s boiler room, penny stocks. This is all happening. And so again, why is that occurring? The dollar has lost 25% of its purchasing power in 4 years. We have $1.1 trillion of credit card debt. We have 43 million Americans that have federal student debt. The average balance is $37,000. People have lost hope. They do not have hope. How are you supposed to live in a country where it is cheaper to rent than buy a home in 50 major metros? You don't have hope. And so what do?
You think this is a lottery ticket? This is a gamble?
I think that if you go and you buy a lottery ticket, it's 300 million to 1 odds. I think there's people right now saying, you know what, a meme coin has better odds than a lottery ticket. I think there's a lot of people who say Bitcoin
pick your asset.
Speaking of the halving, are you expecting everyone's going to be a flurry of anticipation to have more, to own more as the supply becomes more limited and it does drive up the price?
Well, I think the halving is a great opportunity for people to learn more about what Bitcoin is and how it works. Bitcoin, it's designed to mimic precious metals in that the more you mine it, the more difficult it becomes to mine. And going into this halving is we have an unprecedented setup because we have hit an all-time high on a weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis prior to the halving, which is something that hasn't happened before. In the times that's happened previously, after you have, this weekly, monthly, quarterly all-time high, you've had an appreciation of 300%. Right. So, the setup of the halving is interesting because it's a financial endeavor for the miners, and you can learn a lot from watching what the miners are doing going into the halving. And they've been investing, so they've obviously been betting their businesses on the price of Bitcoin going up, and it looks like they're about to win their bet.
Are you in the camp of only 21 million Bitcoin ever, so it only go up?
Well, I'm in the camp of we lead digital lives, and we will have digital ownership in our digital lives. And there is a new invention here. I mean, I think this is what people often kind of overlook. They look at only the speculative side, but I've been working on the internet since the early 90s, and I did digital music for 20 years, and I was a big part of the fact that you no longer own your music collection. You rent it. So Bitcoin has been the tip of the spear of digital ownership. And I think that we will have digital ownership in our digital lives, and yes, because you have this truly scarce digital ownership asset, which is it behaves like a precious metal. I think, look, if you own pesos, you want to own dollars, and if you own dollars, you want to own Bitcoin.